Orient ourselves a bit back to the operating model. Again, our double helix DNA. We've now talked at length about strategy deployment. Scott's talked about the catch ball and its role in that. We've hit on some other systems. Daily improvement with our idea generation. We've talked about leadership cadence. We've talked a lot about shared learning, again, with our idea generation and some of our fantastic questions and comments about how are we going to collect ideas, how are we going to measure their quality, how are we going to share them. These are all questions that really are within these systems. Now we're going to spend some time with performance visibility. So, we are going to envision that we are at the Super Bowl. And I think we have some Packers fans here, and I know that that is potentially on the horizon. So we're there. We're having our, what is it, chicken finger baskets?
Chicken tender.
There we go. We're eating our chicken tender baskets that we have paid 33% above prior year. So what we see, right, from our vantage point is this. What is it, right, that we might be missing? For a gold
Voice
star.
of customer.
Anyone? Voice of the customer? What else?
How about a scoreboard?
A scoreboard. How about a scoreboard? Okay. So if I'm watching that, right, without a scoreboard, what information might I be missing? The score, of course. Okay, the score. I might not know the score. I might remember, right? It might be in my mind, but I can't see it visually. What else might I be missing?
How much time is left?
How much time is left in the game? We're in the quarter. What else?
Details like the amount of timeouts.
Got it. The amount of timeouts. What else?
Advertising of that amazing concession stand.
Advertising the concession stand, right?
Who the players are.
Who the players are, right? What down is it? What yard, right? Certainly that I probably can't tell from this vantage point. Right? I can't tell necessarily how many yards to first down. So as a coach, okay, so we're going to transition from fan to coach. As a coach, right, why is it important for me to know the information that I gather from the school? To know what play to do, right? Absolutely, right? Because my strategy, my play, right, is wholly dependent on all of the variables that I gather from the scoreboard. Am I winning or losing, right? If I'm winning and I want to run down the clock, I might run the ball more often. If I'm losing and I have points to gain, I'm going to throw the ball more often.
Not the Packers, they throw the ball.
They throw the ball all the time? Okay. I don't watch enough Packers. I'm still sour about my Rams leaving, so haven't watched as much NFL. But it changes my strategy, right? Certainly, if I know that there's 10 seconds left in the game and I'm down, right, I'm throwing a Hail Mary. Right? Or again, if I'm 10 seconds left in the game and I'm winning, right, I might take a knee. Right? My strategy is, again, wholly dependent on all the variables that I get from the scoreboard. So, SSM, Health, Department Scoreboards, right, is your performance board. Right, so we have a large mock-up here. Has anyone seen or spent time with performance boards? Heidi? Okay, it's a newbie, as well as CI people in the back, certainly. Okay, so this is our performance board. Again, think of it like a department's scoreboard. Okay? They're hung, right, within a department, right, visibly. Some are in break rooms and things, but ideally they're public. They're front and center, right? Exactly where you would want a scoreboard in a stadium is where you want your performance board in your department. So I'll highlight just a few items, kind of high level, and we'll talk about a few more of these in detail today and next tomorrow. So we start with our mission. Through our exceptional healthcare services, we reveal the healing presence of God. Right? You're going to notice that everything flows the same way that really our operating model and our vision flows. Right? We start with our mission. We have our pillars and our true north statements under them. Right? We have our metrics in the middle. But I want to highlight first this information that can be found on the left-hand side of the board. Okay? So this is more of that scoreboard, some more scoreboard variables here. Okay? The left-hand side of the board can tell me whether I'm ready for my day, for my shift. Right? Where does my department stand? regarding people? Right? Do we have call-ins? Do we have high patient volumes? Are we on a red bed status in the hospital, meaning that we have patients backed up in the ED and we need to discharge our patients more quickly? Right? Do we have 3 people that are on FMLA today and we're doing double work? Right? All those things can be found on that left-hand side. Right? At our huddles, we update that. We check in. Where are we today? How many of us are there? How much work is to be done? Right? Can we accomplish our goals today? All that can be captured there. Are there safety issues? Right? Certainly for our nursing staffs, we've talked about workplace violence. Right? Do we have safety issues? Are there patient safety issues? Right? Celebrations. Is there anyone that we want to celebrate? Right? Is there anyone that did a great job? All that can be found on that left-hand side, and we talk about it in public. On the right-hand side, we'll see 2 things. First, a win tracker, right? For successful metrics, successful rollouts of ideas, we can put in our win tracker. And then the idea generation themselves. So Scott talked about the importance of ideas. The performance board is where we can collect them. When we have an idea, we can put it on a Post-it, we can put it on a card, we can put it on the performance board. Again, it's visible. It's visible for the whole team, it's visible for the leader. We have this idea, we're implementing it, we're trying an experiment, we're going to see if it works, we're going to see if it's any good, right? And then if it is, we're going to share it. Right? All that can be collected on that right-hand side of the board. So then in the middle, we have our metrics. Right? Again, they flow. So when we look at our true north statements and our pillars, right, under that we find our KPIs, right, key performance indicators. Again, Scott talked about those this morning. I think of the key performance indicator, honestly, as a way to tell us if we are still pointed towards true north. Right? Meaning, if I take a KPI assessment of myself and I realize that in my department, my voluntary turnover jumped to 30%. That tells me whether I'm heading in the right direction regarding my connectivity and culture true north. Because if I'm going to be nationally recognized as a ministry where people can reach their greatest potential and fulfill their calling to serve others, yet I have a 30% voluntary turnover, I'm probably not working towards that true north. So our KPI is just a way to assess where we are in progress towards our vision. So we put KPIs on our performance board. Those KPIs are aligned, right back to strategy alignment, aligned with what my hospital or my region might be working on, and then what the system is working on. Right? So I can look at a board, I can say that this department has a goal of achieving a 10% voluntary attrition rate, voluntary turnover. And then I can say that that is contributing to the region's goal of 11%, which is attributing to the system's goal of 11.74. Right? I can see that strategy alignment present on my board, and I know exactly where I stand in regards to it. Right? My team meeting their goal helps this individual ministry or region meet their goal, which helps the system meet their goal. So we have that strategy deployment that's aligned there on that board. Our KPIs are really what we consider to be lagging metrics, which is, it's like a what? Right? Again, it's a how much turnover did I have this month? Right? What was my expense this month? What was my progress towards a certain goal this month? It's usually measured on an annual, quarterly, monthly basis. It's an outcome. Right? It's how we did that I'm measuring. Again, it's typically monthly on performance boards. What goes under that is what we call our leading or our action metrics, which is a how. So again, I might have a monthly goal of voluntary turnover. But I am going to assess that based on a behavior towards that. And we'll talk about those in a moment. Under that are our barriers. right? So I can say we are working very hard on this metric. When we haven't achieved our goal, here's why, right? These are the barriers that we're running into. This is what's happening that's keeping us from being successful, right? And then under that, what are our ideas or interventions to remove those barriers? So as a team, at our performance board, right, we can see all of that information. I know how the department is doing on a daily basis. Do they have what they need to be successful? What's their progress towards their KPIs? And again, not just the department's KPIs, but the entire system's KPIs. What are they doing to impact those metrics? What kind of barriers they're running into, and how they're countermeasuring them, how they're removing those barriers. And then of course, what ideas has the team come up with and implemented? Tiffany mentioned step back reviews, which we'll talk about a bit tomorrow. Step back reviews are where our leadership, right, part of our leadership cadence, comes and looks at performance boards, right, and they can see all of those things. And again, they can share them organically when we see that we have implemented ideas, when we see that we have successful metrics, successful countermeasures, we can spread them, right? Again, because it's all visibly located in front of a team, in front of a department. Are there any questions about high-level performance boards? Yes?
So I'm still a little confused of that first level, how you see both your department goal as well as the system goal. I haven't seen that, honestly.
It's a great question.
I've only seen the department goals when I've gone around.
So honestly, you won't even necessarily see a graph. You could, of course, but traditionally, you'll just see it noted. Like for performance boards, ones I've supported, we'll make a note. So we'll say, again, we'll stick with voluntary turnover, so we're here.
Yep.
And then at the top of this, there'll be a note that'll say the system voluntary turnover
Okay.
goal is 11.74.
Okay.
The Wisconsin region is 11.07.
Okay.
And our goal is this.
Okay.
And so you can just see it very
Kind of
quickly.
write that in there.
And that's ideal. Not all of them are like that
Yes.
yet, because that wasn't certainly not a requirement.
Yeah.
But we talk about it would be great to understand that alignment, so we're kind of encouraging that. So not
Yes.
all of them you'll see it, but
Okay.
it is encouraged so that you can look and just understand that strategic alignment at a
And
glance.
some teams last year would literally print things from the strategy connection tool.
Yes.
Kind of how I showed on that KPI slide. They would print
Okay.
kind of just that row, and then they would post that row right above their outcome or their lagging measure. It was just a different way to do essentially what was just shared. So it's helping teams. I think what we found early on is that teams are really struggling making that connection. So any additional information we could literally have visible there was just kind of that constant reminder, this is ultimately trying to help move the organization's voluntary attrition from, trying to get to that 10.79, whatever it was for 2019. So your team can structure that and put whatever information is going to be helpful for you to just constantly remind yourself what that connection is.
And then also just for my clarity, like at the regional level, if I'm remembering correctly for 19, we had like multiple growth and partnership goals, multiple exceptional performance goals.
Yeah.
Right, so we're tying it back to the one that makes the most sense for our team.
Your catchball. So again, you would look at your region's KPIs within growth and partnership, and you would say, I think my department can impact this metric, and maybe not this one. So you can select through catchball which of the KPIs under a certain pillar your department can impact, and you'll put that on the board.
And I think where I'm thinking about it a little differently is our departments, and I think it's similar for the others, we didn't actually tie it to a regional, we tied it to the system, right?
Yeah.
Because we're now a system department. So
Yeah.
ours were not tied up through the Wisconsin region per se. They were kind of circumvented that and went right to the.
Yeah, and specific to your department, that's probably correct.
Okay.
So you wouldn't necessarily tie to a region if you don't tie to a region. If you're a
Yeah.
system department, you just adopt a system KPI.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. The step back reviews are done by leadership. And are we talking like VP director level or AC at St. Mary's, looking at AC team?
It's really all levels, and I will say we will talk about step back reviews
Okay.
tomorrow. I really just kind of brought it up because Tiffany had really kind of introduced the term and its importance with a performance board, but we will talk about step back reviews tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's different from the Gaussian, or what was Gemba walks? Are those
Yeah.
different?
It-
Different but similar.
They have similar
Yeah.
characteristics, yep.
But
All those-
different groups maybe doing the work.
I would-
Sometimes maybe
Yeah.
more same individual.
Different objectives would be
Yeah.
too.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's great. Great questions as always. Performance board questions? Yes?
So Justin, would you be able to allude to, so like if you go around through the system for frontline staff, you may not see a goal under each pillar, where you might see 3 or 4 goals under exceptional performance and 1 under connectivity and culture. So can you speak to that a little bit for frontline staff? How do we decide what our focus is gonna be as a team? And is there a requirement for how many goals we're supposed to be working on at
Yeah.
the frontline level?
So similar to kind of Aaron's question, it's really through catchball. So there are a number of KPIs as we discussed at the system regional levels. Your department will not work on all of them. You know, we see the physical limitations of the board, right? As we design in our ideal, we have 4. It's likely that your department, right, is only going to be able to make, is only going to be able to focus really on maybe 4, right? I say 2 to 5. I wouldn't go less than 2, right? But once you get more than 5, you probably struggle with kind of a focus issue. It's like if we're going to fix everything, we might not fix anything because we are not focusing kind of our resources. So through catchball, right, we say, okay, there are 27 KPIs, right? Under a certain pillar, my team can impact this. So if I'm an inpatient nursing unit, right, I might choose an infection rate. If I am a revenue generating organization, I might choose our net operating income. Right, through catchball, we look at the KPIs, we determine which ones we can make an impact on,